Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Bullony Basketball. Happy New Year. This is the first episode of 2025, so I had to get a special guest. I got my guy, JELSON, Gel Pepper, Gel Squid. How's it going?
It's going great. Good to be back. I feel like we always do Bullony Basketball like towards the beginning of the year for our episode. It's always good to be back. Always good to have that on the calendar and looking forward to it. So we're doing well.
Yes, sir. The schedules always align at the right time.
Sure.
But I feel like we got a decent show here today. It's gonna be a little bit different from shows we've done in the past, but 2024 is behind us, so I think we got to reminisce on some of the good moments. There were a lot of good moments for your team in particular, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Sure.
Probably more good moments there than will be coming in 2025. Nevertheless, why don't we focus on what our favorite moment or moments of the NBA in 2024 was. So do you have a favorite moment of the year 2024? It could be this season, early in the year. It could be last season. What is it?
Um, I mean, for me, it's like dunks always get my blood rushing. Uh, but my top play, unsurprisingly, right, as a Timberwolves fan, is the Rudy Gobert fadeaway in Game 7
Mm-hmm.
that basically sealed the game, at least momentum-wise. And just beyond that, when Anthony Edwards ended John Collins' career.
Yeah, those are two very good moments. I mean, I remember the Rudy Gobert fadeaway like it was yesterday, and as soon as that shot went in, it really felt like it kind of. I mean, the score difference was different, but like remember that one play that Luka had? I think where he crossed up might have been who was it? Was it Cam Johnson? I think it was. And like he stepped back and he shot that 3-pointer at the top of the key, and they were blowing him out in Game 7. Like
Yeah,
that was like the moment for you guys there.
yeah,
And then I think like that, if you know what I'm talking about, that when you guys stole the ball and then Ant had that three in the corner and it
yeah,
started playing that like one song immediately, like you couldn't hear anything. Like
right.
I was like, oh yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
But no, that's a good moment for sure. And also yeah, that dunk was kind of crazy too.
Oh, yeah,
The,
bro dislocated his finger.
yeah, I think the NBA just put up a thing like the top 100 plays of the decade, and they put that like top 20 that dunk or
Yeah.
something.
And
So
they did also like top plays of 2024, and that was number one.
yeah. So that was nutty.
Yeah.
But I guess my moment, I'll say, it's not like a specific play, but it does involve the Timberwolves. I don't know if you remember, but it was in 2024 when I went to the Bulls Timberwolves game. I
Oh,
got
God.
I got to sit like pretty much courtside, not like technically courtside, but like on the floor for the first
Yeah.
time ever. And you guys were up like 20 points, and we came back. Kobe White went electric. Um,
Yes.
but I did get like some good like I got Anthony Edwards dunk where I think he went through the lane and like just postered Vucevic or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So but no, that was probably like I guess my favorite moment of the year.
Oh, yeah, that's a great moment. I mean, in retrospect, as a Timberwolves fan, I don't love it, but in retrospect, it was awesome. I love Kobe White. Love to see him playing well. Um, Obviously, get an Ant dunk in there, to lift my spirits a little bit. But that was a good game. I feel like every single time like we play each other, it's always competitive,
Hmm.
and like Kobe White goes nuts. I feel like every time. So kind of makes me like a Kobe White lover and a hater at the same time. Um, I have one more moment to
Okay,
mention.
go ahead.
It's not a specific moment as you're kind of talking about. It's more of like a series thing or playoffs. But Kyle Anderson,
Oh,
um, that man, I hate watching him play basketball. But during pretty much the entirety of the playoff run for the Timberwolves last year, um, me and my buddies would scream, "No, Kyle!" And then if he made the shot, we would scream, "Yeah, Kyle!" It was like it was just a deep inside joke, and Kyle Anderson, low key, like made the playoffs for me. So I love Kyle Anderson. That was like a key moment, just his entire playoff run for the Timberwolves.
yeah, he was big slow mo. He's sometimes got it in him, but yeah, I don't know. I just think the Bulls Timberwolves thing is funny because I'm pretty sure we were the only team last year that like swept the season series with you guys.
Yeah,
So I held that over you. I was like, hey, you guys might go on. Like, if you guys won the chip, that would have been funny because I'm like the Bulls technically.
Yeah.
But nah, I mean, so there were some good moments in 2024. Some good playoff series. I feel like the not so much really the finals, but I mean, I think the series with Denver and Minnesota, like you said, I think the Cavs Magic, that was another good one. Um, but yeah, I guess if you want, we can move forward to talking about a little bit about 2025. Just kind of talking about like one thing that we're hoping for, maybe the most in 2025. And so I'll give you the floor first. What's your big thing?
Well, I got a couple, but
Okay.
my big thing is just seeing some of these rookies, really start to get more playing time. Um, because obviously we see like Matas Buzelis, who's been starting
Facts.
to get, a little bit of a groove here and there.
Hmm.
Um, and then obviously Rob Dillingham for my team,
Oh man.
a guy that needs to play more but doesn't for whatever reason.
Oh, we know what
Um,
reason.
oh gosh, we know the reason. Um, but that's for a later conversation we'll have.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, just some of these rookies get more playing time. um, I think it sucks that Jeremy McCain got injured because he was my runaway rookie of the year, or like prediction wise. And he was the guy that was really, as we all know, like was really stepping up for his team. And while Embiid was, being Embiid and being injured, at least we got to see Jared McCain hoop a little bit. But there's a whole bunch of rookies that are starting to get playing time now. We're in that time of the season where like guys are starting to solidify a role, carve in a role, start to get some minutes. So I think just this rookie class starting to, find their role and get some more minutes.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. I think Booz Ellis needs more playing time. Rob Dillingham needs more playing time. Because right now, like, it's just like a really weird, like, the rookie ladder is so weird. Because, like, the
Yeah.
top 10, like, it's mostly comprised of guys who are good. They're playing good. But, like, I feel like when it's all said and done, a lot of those guys won't be have a better career than guys that aren't on the list. Like
Yeah.
obviously Jared McCain wasn't on the list because he's been out for like the last couple weeks now. Booz Ellis, Rob Dillingham, like guys like Dalton Connect was like 10th on the recent one. Like I feel like he'll be better than like at least half the guys that are like 1 through 9. So like it's just really weird right now. But I mean, I guess I kind of have. Well, I kind of have, I guess, three. One of them I won't really touch on though, because I kind of talked about it a little bit last episode. I think it would be cool to see. I know, I don't know how you'll like it because obviously they're in shooting guard debates, but would be cool to see Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs like win it all.
Oh yeah.
I mostly say that just because like he really has. He's been on like very small market teams, and it's like sometimes like you can't really blame him so much. I mean, I know like I don't know. Sometimes you're very pro Rudy Gobert. Sometimes you're very anti Rudy Gobert. But
It's a roller coaster.
right, and I mean like this is the roller coaster he had to ride for like 5 years, and then
Yeah.
same thing with Cleveland. It's like with JB Bickerstaff there, and like just the team hadn't developed yet. I feel like this is the most like refurbished team he's had, so it would be nice to see that come to fruition. The big one I had here though, and then I'll talk on like the other one like very briefly, but I want to see the Magic get healthy. You
Hmm.
know, because if I mean the way they're winning games, it's very 2021, 2022 LA Clippers esque.
Yeah.
Remember like that year they were over 500 with like Reggie Jackson and Amir Coffey playing the
Yeah.
biggest minutes. So I feel like if they get Paolo back, they get Franz back. Jalen Suggs got hurt the other night. Like they get their guys back. I mean, Gary Harris has missed games. Like they'll be lethal. So
The thing that sucks too is obviously we know what Paulo brings to the table. We also know what Franz brings to the table, even though he had kind of an off year last year.
Mo
And when
Wagner hurt
Paulo,
too.
yeah, exactly. When Paulo went down, then we're starting to see the Franz that we saw rookie year. Where he's a real bucket. I mean, he can score in a multitude of ways, and he's just getting his game's obviously advanced, and he was showing that. And I was excited to see like, Franz now he's playing well. Paulo's going to come back eventually. I wanted to see what that was going to look like, and now it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, what are the timetables going to look like? When are we going to see him healthy? When are they going to really be healthy? And just like, what is the team going to look like once everything's coming back together? Is it going to click? Like, is Franz going to have his offensive role still going? And then obviously we know Paulo can be an All NBA caliber player. So just seeing that team really start to click again is really exciting to me.
Yeah, another thing I was just gonna add, like very briefly, is I want to see like what happens with these like trade rumors because I feel like this is probably I think like mid season maybe the like largest wave of trade rumors that we've seen in a while. I know like when Kevin Durant was on the trade market like a couple years back, like that was a huge one, but it was like he was like the only guy that could be
Yeah,
traded. Like it feels like there's a lot more player like there's De'Aaron Fox, like maybe something will happen with him. Like we'll see what happens with the I would say even the Sixers to a degree could be in that like realm of things. I think the Heat with Jimmy butt cheeks I
yeah,
mean like I don't know. I feel like he's just done,
yeah,
and this is a very unfriendly Jimmy butt cheeks zone.
yeah. This is very true. Jimmy Butler. This is a Jimmy Butler hate zone.
Yes.
Um, I mean, I think in general, even some of the smaller trades, I think I'm kind of interested in what like the contender's going to do in terms of just smaller pieces moving around. Because we
Hmm.
always get like with obviously the Lakers. Like I'm not calling them a contender, but we saw them just move D'Angelo Russell and try to make a move that can kind of swing the dial somewhere that they want to get. And I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know if I love the move necessarily. I guess you get off of D'Angelo Russell, who we know is kind of a shot chucker
We know,
at
yes.
times, and you get a quality role player. So I don't know how it's going to work in the grand scheme of things for the Lakers, but just those type of moves also kind of excite me.
Yeah, another interesting one I think is I don't know if they will, but like imagine if the Nuggets actually trade Michael Porter Jr. to try and like because he's the only person they can really trade to even improve the team right now, and like
Yeah,
I feel like that would really mix things up.
I
But
heard Julius Randle was available.
oh, okay, yeah, I mean, well, when the Sharks call, then I guess
Facts.
he'll have
I think
an.
we're going to trade him to Taiwan for Dwight Howard.
Nah, I don't know if Taiwan would accept that.
Facts.
But we can move on. You're talking a little bit about the Lakers. The leading All-Star vote getter so far for them has been LeBron. And so I think this is an interesting topic to put into one because he just turned 40, and then you just had Steph Curry who was asked about like moving forward with his career, and he said like he's talking about like it's nearing the end or something like that. So like I mean, like these guys have been in the league for a while, like LeBron, Curry, Durant, Kawhi. Trying to think like who else has been like Chris Paul. Like, okay, so like, what do you make of things like this? And like, do you think like some of these guys just need to like hang it up, or like, how long do you think, or what are you feeling with that?
I think Chris Paul needs to have been hanging up the sneakers. You know what I mean? I think he sucks. Okay, I'm a Chris Paul hater, but I think he's not good. I don't think he's a quality NBA player anymore. I guess he's helping Wemby's development a little bit. I understand having an ISO, like a guy that can help Wemby not be just an ISO scorer and stuff like that. Um, Obviously, LeBron's still hooping at age 40, which is nuts. And we talk about just how long these guys have been in the league. I'm 21 years old. LeBron's been in the league longer than I've been alive, which
Sheesh.
is insane.
Okay, LeBron.
Um, Steph, I mean, he's still hooping. I would say this. I believe, and this isn't a crazy thing just because of the age differential or whatever,
Hmm.
but Steph Curry, his game, in my opinion, is going to continue to age with grace, even though some his shooting percentages kind of slipped a little bit. Um, his game is going to continue to age with grace, and I think he's one of those players, along with LeBron, where it's like they're not going to play till the wheels literally fall off. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I think they're guys that are going to retire. I don't know at a peak, but I think they're going to be like all star, all NBA level players, and they're going to be like, okay, I've done what I needed to do. I want to be a family man. I want to do this. I want to do that. And those guys are going to retire. And I think LeBron's probably going to retire. And I wouldn't be surprised if he retired at the end of this year, to be honest. Even though there's been like Sham saying, oh, 2 years, whatever. I You saw that stretch where he took, I don't know what personal reasons were going on. And I don't want to speculate, right?
Hmm.
If they were not that serious, which, hopefully, obviously not, they're not that serious. But we've kind of seen this past couple of years where he'll take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks off for whatever reason, and come back, and he's rejuvenated, obviously playing well. And it kind of makes me think like, how much longer does he really have? Does he really have 2 more years? Does he really want to play 2 more years? Now that his son's in the league, does he want to play 2 years? He's already got the experience of playing with his son. Like that, that's like one of those things where it's like one of the last bucket list items that is checked off, because we talk about LeBron and his legacy and comparing it to Michael Jordan or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like there's only so many things you can really do, especially at the age of 40 now. Like, you're probably not going to win another championship. You're probably not going to win another MVP. You can get more All Stars. You can get more All NBAs. But is that what, like, are you really trying to just stack those up, or are you trying to move on, do whatever you're going to do next? But those are two obviously legends where it's just going to be weird to not have in the league anymore. I mean, growing up, both of us are growing up watching these guys play, and the NBA will be a lot different without them.
Yeah, I mean, with some of these players in particular that you named, I think, at least for Chris Paul, I mean, he's kind of pretty much done. I know he's had a better year this year than like he did it with the Warriors or whatever last season. Like, I'll give him that. But I mean, it just kind of feels like he's had to really play like the Popovich role when he's been out, like, for a while.
Yeah.
And I really don't think, I think he missed his chance to win a championship with the Rockets the one year and with the Suns the other year when he was in the finals. I think as for like Curry, I mean, I know his age, like the way he plays, or his game will age with grace, as you said, like the way he plays. Although, I mean, I don't know how like motivated he's been lately. I mean, Clay left. I feel like that kind of like hurt him a little bit. The team just is not that good. And I think LeBron kind of feels that too a little bit with the Lakers. It's like the team is just not that good. So like I could very well see like these guys like, not going about that. Here's what I'll say though about Kevin Durant, I'll say about Kawhi. I think Kevin Durant could play a lot longer than both of them, because I think that he just mostly cares about playing the game. Like, at this point, like he's gonna snap back at anyone who like refutes his 2 rings and they're like, oh, fake and stuff like that. Like, he just wants to play basketball. You know what I mean? Yep. I don't think he cares. That's why like I wouldn't be surprised if he plays until a higher age than LeBron does. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what I'll say about Kawhi is, I know a lot of people said like time to retire, this and that, whatever, because he gets hurt so much. But the thing that's crazy about him is that like every time he's come back from injury, it's like he still plays just as good or maybe better. You know what I mean? It's just very limited, but that's kind of the thing. It's like if the timeline went right, I mean, the Clippers might have more success in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like what I'd say. And he's also a little younger than some of the other guys that like we mentioned here. But I do think LeBron, I don't think he'll retire after this season, probably next season, just because I feel like he's going to probably want like a farewell tour type of year. That just seems like the type that he'd be.
No, for sure. I see that, definitely.
But we can move on to the next topic if you'd like. I'm sure you're excited for this one because Mike Brown got fired recently. So I think it's good to kind of speculate now, like what coach is like the next one on the hot seat. You know what I mean? Now, as I said before, this is like, I guess like we're thinking like who's most likely maybe to get fired next or like on the hot seat. I'll leave it up to you. You can tell me whatever coach you believe, and I have a good feeling I know who it's going to be.
So I think we're in the era right now where in previous years, maybe like let's say a decade ago, you would see bad teams fire their coach mid-season, right? I think we're in the era now of tanking, right? Or of just like teams being like, okay, well, if we're bad, if our team's bad, we'll keep the bad coach. We'll get rid of the coach in the offseason. We'll make the changes in the offseason. Mm-hmm. I think the teams that are going to be firing coach are middling teams, right? Teams that think that they have a lot more talent than what they're getting out on the court. I mean, we saw it with the Bucks last year, and now we saw it with Mike Brown getting fired, where it's like the Kings have their own drama situation going on right now.
The Suns too.
Yeah, actually, the Suns.
Yeah.
So we don't really know what's going on completely there, but I think it's going to be a middling team that's going to fire their coach. And there's a reason I say this to lead into, and things can obviously change, right? Teams can figure it out. But Chris Grinch stole my Christmas. Even though they won, he stole my Christmas. And I don't know if he'll be fired. And we don't really know who's going to be fired next. But I do think it's going to be a middling team. And right now, the Timberwolves are too talented, even though Julius Randle also stole my Christmas. Uh, they're too talented for what they're putting out on the court right now. Being a team that's, I believe they're slightly above 500, and just a team in general that has too much talent to be slightly above 500, right? And we expect teams that make big trades to, take a little bit of time to like figure it out. We see it with the Timberwolves example, with Rudy Gobert. It took them a year to really figure out what they were going to do. But at the same time, there was multiple trades there. Like you had to figure it out. You traded D'Angelo Russell for Mike Conley. You also get picks. You get rid of Walker Kessler before he even plays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of different moves there that's like, okay, well, what are the changes we're going to make? And I think one of them very well could be a change at head coach. I don't think Chris Finch is a at this moment, championship level coach. And I think that's what the Timberwolves are looking for. And we still don't even know who our owner is going to be. But so that can really determine things. Whatever owner ends up, coming in, I think could also change depending on, what coach we end up having or what the situation is there. But I think Chris Finch could very well be on the hot seat. I don't know what the front office is thinking right now, but if I'm the front office right now, I'm like, okay, you're starting to warm up. We're coming closer to the middle of the season now. Coming closer to now we have All-Star voting with the list coming out and stuff like that. That's really when things start to get real for these teams.
Yeah.
So I think Chris Grinch might be the on the hot seat.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a realistic one, I would say. I mean, especially like last season, the success you guys had, and it's like right now it hasn't looked as great. But I also think that part of that is like Tim Connolly, up there, so, like fumbling the bag. But as much as I wanted to pick something kind of unique here too. I did settle for just kind of like a lame one, I guess, just because like he isn't a contract year. They're awful. He's been there 4 years now, which is hard to believe because it just seems like he's just trash. But I put Chauncey Billups. I mean, he's got to go like at this point too. But I will say like obviously I consider Billy Donovan, and I would love for Billy Donovan to be number one on this list. I also think maybe Taylor Jenkins. I mean, he's been there for so long with the Grizzlies, and I'm not high on him. I feel like he's partly holding them back too, and especially if they're the 2 seed again this year and they like lose first round, like you got to look at the coaching then. I mean, that's like the third time in a row that they would lose to a lower seed, like in the playoffs. So I feel like he's part of that, but I think this is also a good space. I mean, this guy's not going to get fired, but just like, I feel like in a way he's not even like their best coach, but like, I mean, this might be a hot take, but like Ty Lue, Thai food, I don't got a clue. Any of those fit. Okay. Yeah. Like I feel like their defensive backbone was like set when Jeff Van Gundy walked in because he has like that 90s coaching mentality too. And he made the finals with teams in the 90s too. So like I feel like as soon as he came in the door, like their defense looked like it was withering away the last few years. Now he comes in and I know they have better defensive players maybe like Chris Dunn and Derek Jones, but like dude, their defense like looks 90s-esque like at its best. Like it's crazy. And like I'm giving him a lot of the credit for that because it's very similar to the Knicks in the 90s that he coached. Yeah. So.
No, the Chauncey Billups one was the one that I was kind of hinting at when I'm like terrible teams like not firing their coach mid-season. I think that he should have been fired a long time ago. Yeah. And I think we both agree on that. Yeah. But I just feel like they're so bad that it's like there's almost no point. You know what I mean? Like, especially with the contract here, just like don't rehire him. Like,
yeah, I just think like because, and I get that too. Like, but I just think in a way, like they had him when they had Dame as well. Like when they were trying to like compete the last few moments, and then they got rid of him and CJ. Like it's hard to believe. Like CJ McCollum was a Blazer when Chauncey started there. Like, and he's still there. You know what I mean?
It's
like
so bad.
This is like their 3.5 year of rebuilding, really, and they still haven't gotten anywhere. So like, I feel like teams like that, like maybe you could like give some leeway to someone like a Willie Green or like because his team's been injured, or I mean. Will Hardy, he's kind of in a little different situation for his contract, and this is kind of the first year they've been like not even competitive to a degree. So, but I mean, the Blazers have just been terrible for 4 years. That's why, yeah.
No, yeah, that's a fact. And yeah, that's the thing is they've just been so bad recently, or not even recently, just for a
Forever.
while. That it's like
Since
I don't understand what their front office is doing in general.
Yeah, not much. But if you want, we can progress here to the last few topics, starting with the honor of the week. So how this is going to work, I think I told you beforehand, but I'm going to give you a former player, and you're going to have about a minute to talk about them for good, for bad, however you want. Could even talk about, like, if you use them in 2K or whatever, or if you saw them, like, in real life. It does not matter. However you want to talk about them, you're going to have 1 minute, and I feel like you should know who this player is as well, because he is a former Timberwolf. So,
All right.
So are you ready?
Yes.
All right, so you got about roughly 1 minute to talk about your boy, NIKOLA PEKOVIC.
Okay, let's go. Obviously, big body. We love big bodies over here. No Diddy.
Wow.
We and just the way he plays basketball, like the rough. Like I don't think you see this as much in the current NBA. Like I mean, you see Dylan Brooks kind of be that like head of the snake, if you will, of aggressiveness, and like Patrick Beverley, who isn't playing in the NBA right now, but that like just head of aggressiveness. But Pekovic was essentially that for the Timberwolves when they were terrible. So like you had the this snake that wasn't really gonna bite you because they were kind of very awful, but it was gonna like yap at you a little bit. And Pekovic, I mean, he has a super interesting story just in general. Obviously, like the rumors and like the jokes about him joining the mafia and when he left the NBA, but then now you see him like, you know, on the sidelines of different games, whether it be in Europe or in the States or whatever. If you see him training on a basketball court or train other people, it's like nobody really knows. Nobody just heard from Pekovic, and since he's left the NBA, it feels like, and so you get all these super cool stories about Pekovic. Obviously, as a person in Minnesota. And obviously just him being on the court, but also his interesting life and family history and him potentially being in the mafia. Who knows if that happens? I'm not trying to get involved in that, but hey, if you're in the mafia, shout out to you. That's funny. It's pretty cool. Just kind of his story and who he is as a player. And like, obviously never was a great player, but a guy that was going to consistently be a player for your team. And I think a player that a lot of teams would have liked to have, and he was just stuck on a terrible Timberwolves team. I mean, for a long time. Think of it's a similar situation with Kevin Love. I mean, because they played together and just decent players that could have been helpful on a championship level team or a playoff team that were just stuck on Minnesota for a lot of their career. Obviously, Kevin Love escaped and requested a trade, but Pekovic was certainly one of them ones.
It was one of them ones of all time. I mean, I think honestly, and I mean, it's like hard to say too, because like, I mean, Kevin Love was so great. If Kevin Love was not in the picture, I mean, Pekovic wasn't going to be obviously as good as Kevin Love, but I think his numbers go up a little bit. That like maybe he makes an all-star team, because this guy at his best was averaging like 16 or 17 points. He's averaging like 7-8 rebounds a game, and especially like back then, like. There was 1 year you guys were like, I think just under 500 too. Like it was like 40 and 42. Like, yeah. I mean, stats like that, and especially like you bump those up maybe to 20 and 10. You know what I mean? Like, That's probably an all-star right there, especially in the tough West. I mean, especially too, like you got to factor like this might have been like the weakest position, like the weakest center era in a while, because like you had, I mean, Joakim was starting to have injuries, and Dwight Howard was injured, and Bynum fell off, and you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like there was a lot more openness. This is why guys like Roy Hibbert made the All-Star team twice. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like he very well could have. I think he was a solid player at his best. Like he was, I would say at least like those last 2 years Love was there. He was definitely like the second best player on the team. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe him or like Ricky Rubio. Like you could argue. But still, I feel like he was kind of underrated. Not talked about enough.
Exactly.
So
I agree.
Definitely a legend right there. Do you have his jersey, though, or no?
I don't have his jersey. Some people might like, kill me for that, but I don't have his jersey.
You got to get that. You got to put it on your wall back at home.
Dude, I know. That's like one of the ones at the top of the list.
Facts. But I know who you do have a jersey of, and we're going to get into this mini game, focusing right on him. It's the Rose Gold Trivia Minigame. So this is going to be an interesting one because, my favorite player is Derrick Rose. Your favorite player is Derrick Rose. So it's basically all trivia on him. So basically the first and the fifth question, it's going to be 10 points. It's all or nothing. You're going to have one chance to answer. If you get it right, you get 10 points. If you get it wrong, you get 0 points. The first question should be a pretty easy one. The last question should be like almost impossible level 1. And then questions 2 through 4, you're going to get partial credit depending on how close you are to the right answer. So let's say like you're 5 increments away from the correct answer or whatever, then you would get 5 points. If you're like 8 increments away, you get 2 points. But if you get it right on the nose, then 10 points.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is gonna expose my Derrick Rose fandom.
I'm not gonna lie, like some of these are a little tricky, and I feel like you should still at least get like credit, maybe for 3 or 4 of them.
All right.
The last one I feel like will be hard, but we'll see. So, are you ready?
Yes, let's see it.
So the first one is, what jersey number did Derrick Rose wear with the Minnesota Timberwolves?
25.
That is correct. Yeah. Pretty simple. I mean, I had to go with something kind of easy and like, the jersey number that hangs in your room. So I'm like, okay, he's probably going to get this one. So, all right. So that's a 10-pointer right there. Now, number 2. Now, it's going to be hard for you to get this right on the nose. If you do, that's very impressive. But, like, there's going to be an increment for each, like, increment you are away from the correct answer. You'll get partial credit for this one. So are you ready?
Yes.
So I'm sure you remember in 2018-2019, Derrick Rose finished second in guards in the Western Conference for NBA All-Star Game voting, right?
Yes.
How many votes?
Oh, God.
Now, I will tell you, just to kind of give you an idea, I believe LeBron was the leader that year, and he had like 4.6 million.
Yeah. I think he had I want to say the number was around this range. I could be way off, but I think it was like 2.1 million.
You sure you want to roll with 2.1 million? You want to lock that in?
Yeah, let's lock it in.
Okay. So, it is not 2.1 million. That one was a little bit harder, though. So, for every 200,000 was a different increment. So, the correct answer was 3.4 million. Okay. So I believe that gets you, I'm trying to do the math here on the fly. I think that gets you 4 points.
All right.
Yes. That one was a little tricky. But nonetheless, I mean, still got some partial credit there. Okay. So the third question, this one's going to be kind of hard too, but I feel like it shouldn't be like really too hard either. What is Derrick Rose's average shot distance for his career? So, like, how far away from the basket?
Average shot distance? Okay, so this is interesting because towards the end of his career, he started to shoot more threes, right?
Right, but for his whole career, he drives a lot. He took a lot of middies, decent amount of threes, and I think the three-point line is about 23 feet.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
I want to say his career average is like 16 feet.
Going 16 feet right on the nose.
Actually, let's go 15 feet.
And you can go to the nearest decimal, too. So you want to go 15.0 or?
Yeah, we'll just do 15.0.
Okay. So it is not 15 feet. The increment on this one, though, was every foot you were away, you would get that much more credit. If you got it right on the nose, you would have got 10 points. So it was 11.6 feet.
Okay. All right.
So you still got 6 points there. So right now you're at 20 points total of 30. Not too shabby. Now, number 4, you can also get partial credit for this one, although it's going to be kind of hard. I'm not going to lie. This one's a little harder. So over his career, D. Rose had his highest plus-minus of his career against the Memphis Grizzlies on New Year's Day in 2012. What was his plus-minus in that game? This is for every point you are away. You'll get,
highest career. See, this is the thing. Plus minus can get really inflated at times, especially if it's a really big blowout.
It could.
That makes me want to say plus 29.
You want to roll with plus 29? You think that's the move, or?
That honestly feels kind of low. We'll do a plus. Yeah, plus 29.
Okay. So he's locking in plus 29 then?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you should have trusted your gut that you went a little too low. It was higher. It was plus 43.
Really?
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah. I think he had another plus 41 game, and then he had like a handful of like plus 30. I think he had maybe a dozen more plus 30s, and then he was in the 20 range. So he had about 14 or 15 games above that. So
Okay, yeah. That's like, to me, it's like either your highest is in like the high 20s or like the low 40s to me. It's like you're one of the two players.
yeah. So right now, 4 questions in, you got 20 points. If you get this last one, you'll get 30 points for the total. So are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Now this one's going to be kind of hard. I will tell you, even though this guy, I won't say that yet. I won't say it yet unless you want that hint. So here we go. When Derrick Rose won Rookie of the Year by a landslide, right? Which rookie that year finished second place with the next most first place votes?
I literally have no idea. No clue.
Well, you got to think about who was in his draft class, you know? I will tell you this. I think this guy's the only rookie that averaged more points than Derrick Rose in their rookie year.
I don't remember what year that was.
2008, 2009.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So the '08 draft. Would it also help you if I said this guy has some Timberwolves affiliation, but I wouldn't really consider him a Timberwolf?
Would not really consider it. Kevin Martin?
You going Kevin Martin?
Yeah.
It is not Kevin Martin.
Ooh.
No, I said it was. The reason I said that is because this is a guy that you guys drafted, but traded on draft night for Kevin Love. It was OJ Mayo.
God, OJ Mayo.
Yeah, it was kind of hard, but I mean, he was a bucket back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like,
No, yeah, he was.
I put him in there too because I think like I don't know if you saw when D Rose, I forget what podcast it was on, but he said on one of the recent podcasts, he said like OJ Mayo was like one of the biggest reasons like why he kept pushing himself to get better. You know what I mean? So like, shout out OJ Mayo. You know,
Facts.
He's the man. So overall, you ended up with I believe 20 points.
Yes.
I will tell you that is not the highest score, but that's not the worst score either. That's somewhere in the middle. So how do you feel about that?
I feel okay. I think a lot of it was like somewhat luck based, if that makes sense.
Some of it is luck based. I think definitely question number 3, although I think it was pretty fair to get like points there. And then, number 2, I feel like maybe you could have got a little bit closer.
Yeah. I think I could have gotten closer. It's just
I think
way the cookie crumble.
Yeah, there were a few points that were like maybe left on the table, but not like a whole lot really is what I'd say.
Yeah. The OJ Mayo thing, I would have never guessed that.
The OJ Mayo one was kind of tough, but that's kind of like the reason I got that there. There's only been 2 people that have got the final question I've done for the D Rose. That's Steph and Xander.
Okay, fire. Yeah.
So they're the only 2 that's gotten a question 5 right so far this season. So still pretty decent. I think it was a pretty good show. Pretty short, sweet, to the point. I don't know if you got anything else you want to add before we wrap it up.
Nothing really. Shout out Derrick Rose. Shout out Kyle Anderson. Shout out Kevin Martin. PEKOVIC.
Yeah.
And love those guys.
Yeah, they're the mans. And did I just say mans? They're the men. They're the mans. I don't know. This sounds weird. Anyways, yeah, I think it was a pretty good episode. And again, Happy New Year. It's because it's the first show of the year. Stay tuned for the next episode, and I guess we'll see who's coming on the show next. So yeah, Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and we're out. Peace.